Boom, 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 boo, boo, doo, doo, boom, doo, boom, doo, doo, ooh, 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 ooh. Sorry for that little interlude if it wasn't that good, but gave it a shot. Gotta give it a shot. Yesterday I was listening, what's today, Monday? It was either Friday or Saturday. I was listening to some, like, good music. It was, Robert Plant and Alison Krauss on NPR, like, Tiny Desk Music, or Home Tiny Desk Music, something like that. It was posted, like, I don't know, 5 days ago, week ago, something like that. And it was so good. And I got weepy, you know, got weepy listening to it. And it was when I put a few puzzle pieces together about this whole Otten deal, this whole disc deal, this whole eclipse deal. This marriage of the sun and the moon. But also the marriage above the sun and the moon. What I wanted to talk about is what I call beneath the underground. Beneath the underground, which to me means like beneath the Underground Railroad. Beneath that. The Underground Railroad it's a historical legend. I mean, it fits everything about legend, and we know it's true because of history. Only recently have we come into times where we can actually look back at historical legend. Like the Underground Railroad was fucking real. We know that. Abraham Lincoln was real. We know that. As their spin, as their mythology, even within all the historic documentation, even within all the diaries and the histories and the accounts, the reporting, the newspaper articles, the little tissue rag, fucking political smut, you know? Even within the historical period, there's spin, there's controversy, there's there there are more questions than answers, and that's crazy. And even now in these digital times, like Elon Musk for example, there's probably like an entire year's worth of videos put out every day about him, right? Like it's it far exceeds it far exceeds our capacity to intake the information about anything we want to know. Well, not quite anything. Fengodade wasps are still hard to find information on, as are what we might consider fermenting yeasts, except for like the couple popular ones out of a bazillion. But like even in the historical period, it's still about discerning the moral of the story. It's about constructing some kind of historical fiction within our mind that makes sense and ties things together. We're about bridging these gaps. Anyway, what came to me while thinking about a lot of things while I was listening to that Tiny Desk Concert Robert Plant Alison Krauss video was about Jefferson, because I've talked about Jefferson like, I don't know, a year and a half, a couple years ago, a year and a half ago, a year and 3/4 ago. I was talking about Jefferson and the clock that he slept, when he slept on his bed, there was a clock that he designed that was at his feet. And you could say Monticello is either notorious or famous for, you could even say innovations of accordance with time, with Jefferson. So what does that have to do with soul? What does that have to do with the sun? The clock he designed was a clock that was a circle suspended between two black obelisks on a base itself suspended by 4 round balls. The symbolism is too deep for me to get into in a short period of time, even though it's not that deep. But in the remaining less than 20 minutes, we'll see how it goes. But what I can say is, for sure, see, I didn't know about the Black Pyramid before. Insofar as archaeology goes and the history of archaeology, I can't remember when what we call the Black Pyramid was either quote-unquote discovered or contextualized within Western history. And I can't remember who first coined the term Black Pyramid, whether that was the same historian or whether the consensus developed over time. But if we consider for a moment the concept of the good conspiracy, which is my overarching argument, the good conspiracy beneath the underground, beneath the underground. We can think of it in terms of clubs, we can think of it in terms of, black market, we can think of it in terms of social practices, on and on and on. As it turns out, there's no bottom. There is, though. There is a bottom. Otherwise, we wouldn't still all be held together. There's a point of no return, and it has a definite horizon. It's the reciprocal of the Planck constant. And it is the very edge of moral depravity beyond which existence cannot exist. God knows everything except for one thing. Enacting a moral depravity at the scale of the magnitude that would destroy existence itself. Which is to say, if God for even one moment let go of God's love. Which is a high-minded way for a depraved plebeian as myself to talk about it. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about was that clock. The soul. The soul, the bottom of the feet, beneath the feet, beneath the S-O-L-E, beneath the sole of the feet, the foundation. Jefferson now. As it so happens, my name is Jeffrey, or Jeff, or Jeffy. And, I only know this because after my grandfather died, my grandmother went on a kind of short trip. But, you know, a big thing for her. She went on a trip with some of her friends to Hawaii. When she came back, she brought me this little placemat. And it had this little Hawaiian kid on it, like cracking open a coconut. And it said Jeffrey. And it said Capelli. You know, the takeaway from that was that in quote unquote, I'm sorry for being ignorant here, but in quote unquote native Hawaiian, sorry for being ignorant, quote unquote native Hawaiian, Jeffrey is Capelli. So years and years go by. 30 years go by. Then I started studying language a little bit, right? And when I was a kid, I mean, I was like 4 or 5, whatever. I was like, I don't see it. And I never did, but then starting to study like language or whatever, and, you know, Proto-Indo-European and whatever the other more politically correct acronyms are. It's easy to make the connection between the J and the K, because you can make the connection with the J with the I, and the Y, and the G, which connects to the K. So the connection between the J and the K is the G, the G, the G, K, the G, K, the G, the J, the J. So the DJ too is in Josier. But anyway, yeah, it's easy to make the connection between the J and the K with the G. And it's easy to make the connection between the L and the R. They're just connected. It's just a capital L upside down looks like a lowercase r. You know, what else do you need? So yeah, Capelli to Jeffrey. But anyway, then you can kind of switch a couple things out, and you can keep the Kep of Capelli, switch the J, switch the L and the R, and then you get Kepri or Kepper, because you can also spell Jeffrey E-R. Mine is R-E, but some people spell it E-R. So then that would be Kepper, and you'd be only 3 little, I mean, a soft consonant and a couple, and maybe one hard vowel and one soft vowel. Kepper, ure. barely 2 syllables. Barely. Keperure. 18th dynasty. Anyway, what I want to say about Jefferson, yeah, so that's what ties into Jefferson, because then you get Keperure, and then son, depends what you mean by son. You could do sit, Keperure sit, which would be weird, like son of manifestations. Manifestations of what? The Aten. Which is what I wanted to get to, but anyway, what I wanted to say is that I kind of had this like, see now this is all going on in my mind in like half a second when I'm thinking about it. When I'm listening to that song by Robert Plant and Alison Krauss, the Gone 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 song on the Tiny Desk concert. It's fucking beautiful. And I only teared up a little bit, but it was so, I guess you could say, beautiful to me. Like, those two really are. That's the thing, man. Like, God and magic. Like, I don't know how they'd speak about God, and I don't know how they'd speak about magic. But I have a belief in both of them, you know? And I believe that, like, essentially, God's the ultimate magic, you know? Ultimate reason, all that shit too, not just, like, crazy, weird, fucking stupid shit. All stupid, dumb, fucking, you know, commercial rituals, or even regular, like, traditional, like, but, like, all I know is when I listen to that song, man, I needed it. Bad. And just, you know, synchronistically. And that's the thing, too. Some people call synchronicity, people I respect deeply. I gotta say it, Bishop Robert Barron. I fucking love the guy, man. He was saying something awesome. God, he posted something. He pretty much every time he opens his mouth, he says something awesome. He always has a point, but oh yeah, he was talking about adopting your role in the theodrama versus the ego drama, and that was, man, it's hard to accept. It's hard to accept that if you give a fuck, you're part of the story. Period. That's it. Nothing good that is ever was until someone dreamt of it first and made actions toward making it real. Period. Active evolution. Active reconciliation. It's active. It's active. Mitochondrial DNA, which is, of course, passed through the mother. All this shit with DNA, atom. Yet we trace everything through mitochondrial DNA. And then from that, we make assumptions. Maybe even in the case of Thomas Jefferson, which I gotta get back to. Jefferson. Keperureaton. Keperureaton. It's almost a perfect Egyptian match to a couple names. But 18th dynasty in the prenomen. In the prenomens of the pharaohs of the 18th dynasty. Slam dunk. But yeah, okay, so the breakdown is the circle between, like, obelisks are pyramids. Obelisks are the suspended capstones of the pyramids, right? And famously, the archetypical grand pyramid of pyramids lacks its capstone. Why? It's because the entire octahedron of which the pyramid is a half isn't even there, because it's encapsulated by 8 tetrahedron. The octahedron in the pyramid are vacuity. Or at least that's a way of looking at it. It's a good way. The circle between two obelisks is the circle between two pyramids. Pyramids are man-made mountains. An obelisk is the symbol of a pyramid. An obelisk is the symbol of a mountain. Circle, among other things, is the symbol of the sun, as a sun disk. What people call the Aten a sun disk. Most people, I hate to say it, but it must be true, looking around. Unless most or all people know it and are afraid to speak it like me in public. That's why I make this channel. I never talk like this in real life, ever, anymore. I used to a little bit when I was younger, but not now. But I know my day will come. That's why this channel is my fucking buried treasure, man. It may be just a long, desperate, extended, arrested development, prolonged adolescent cry in the wilderness. It might be just all that. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough for my mission in life. Maybe that's enough. Because if it's something no one's ever done before, it'll be worth looking at someday. Digital archaeology. You're welcome. Just kidding, I'm sorry. It's the sun coming between two mountains, which was the vision Akhenaten had of choosing Akhet-Aten, which now I guess is what, Tel El or Amarna or something like that. The black has to do with the Black Pyramid, or what we today call the Black Pyramid, even if we didn't in Jefferson's time. Don't mistake the way things line up, and don't mistake or misunderstand that he was beneath the underground. He was beneath the underground. The Underground Railroad did not emerge from above ground. The Underground Railroad emerged from beneath. From beneath it emerged as a manifestation from below. From a larger conspiracy with breath, with spirit, from a larger program, programmer, pro-word, pro-assertive, God's will, the word. And it's connected with the story of Sunui, because the Black Pyramid is connected with Amenemhat III. And the way to make the connection from Akhenaten to the Black Pyramid is through Princess of Amenemhat, or Princess Amenemhat. Of Akhenaten the First in the story of Sunui, where they mention Sinai. They mention Khnumset and Kheneferu, and depending on the translation, right in the beginning opening, some translations reference Kheneferu and some translations reference Khnumset. And I haven't seen the hieroglyphs yet. I haven't had a chance to try to dig that apart. But the fact that it mentions Khnum, the fact that in that text it mentions Sinai, and then more toward the middle or the end, it mentions a land called Yah. I mean, I still got to pick apart, the phonetics, the symbols, and see if that Yah is the same Yah of the moon god that some people say is Yah. The capstone of the Black Pyramid I wanted to get to this time. Doesn't look like I'm going to have enough time, except for I heard someone say that it was the sun disk, because there's a winged disk with two snakes, and I heard someone said it was called the sun, and that beneath it were the eyes, so like the sun or Ra sees perfection or beauty, with the triple spoons before they were using crosses with them. But to my mind, that's a misreading, because the two eyes represent Ra and Yah. Above that, above the sun and the moon, is the disk. The disk precedes that winged disk of Amenemhat, or associated with Amenemhat, which is associated with Amenemhat III in the story of Sinuhe. Anyway. He was calling back to Moses. Jefferson was calling back to Moses. I'm not a DA.